Grading each NFL team's free agency right after this. My name is Kevin Barral from the KO Podcast. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all our social medias, which are linked below. Those include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. Follow us on our Discord server and the Tumblr. I think it's on Instagram. Make sure to like and subscribe, of course. Follow us on all our social medias once again. And let's get started with the first team, which is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, I gave them an A- on their free agency. Some of the biggest names they signed were probably Mitch Trubisky, Emmanuel Sanders. They also brought back Mac Milano. This is a very good Buffalo team. I really like what they did in the free agency period. Still down to do more, most likely. They brought in a big-time wide receiver like Emmanuel Sanders, just a little bit rusty, but he still got it. Next team, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, I gave them an A+. At first, they did nothing. They only brought in guys like Michael Palardy and Vince Beagle. After that, they brought in guys like Will Fuller, Jacoby Brissett, which was probably their biggest signings. They also made a trade for Bernardrick McKinney. You also have Duke Riley now, Brendan Scarlett, two very good linemen, Max Skura, the newest center, Justin Coleman, the Roadrunner, Ethan Carter, Malcolm Brown, and Adam Butler. Personally, I like what the Miami Dolphins did. As a Dolphins fan, I am very, very happy with what they did. Now, still, they could bring in maybe another receiver, maybe even a corner or an offensive lineman. A veteran offensive lineman would be perfect for this team, Miami. Next team we have is the New England Patriots. I'm giving them an A+ free agency. They brought in Matt Judon, Hunter Henry, Kyle Van Noy returns, Kendrick Bourne, Ted Karras returns, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Mills, Devon Godchuk, Cam Newton, and Trent Brown. Super, super big fan of what the New England Patriots did. They brought in big-time players for big-time money. They upgraded the defense and the offense, bringing in some targets for Cam Newton. They also did bring back Cam Newton on a one-year, $14 million deal. Next team is the New York Jets. The Jets had a good free agency. I'm giving them an A. They added Corey Davis, LaMarcus Joyner, Sheldon Rankings, Dan Feeney, Keelan Cole, Carl Lawson, and Gerard Davis. Super big fan of what the New York Jets did this free agency, upgrading at all positions. The only one they haven't touched is the quarterback. Either they draft one or they keep Sam Darnold, which I wouldn't be surprised. They could also go in there and go for a guy like Cam Newton. The next thing is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They gave them a C-. The only two players they brought back were Juju Smith-Schuster and Cameron Sutton. Not much to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're bringing back Juju on a one-year, $8 million deal and bringing back another guy, Cameron Sutton, which is a quarterback. Cleveland Browns, I'm giving them a B+. They brought John Johnson, Malik Jackson, Troy Hill, Rashard Higgins, and Takk McKinley. Honestly, very good moves. They upgraded the cornerback and the safety position by bringing in two former Los Angeles Rams. Also getting themselves help on the D-line by bringing in Takk McKinley and Malik Collins. You also get a good receiver back in Rashard Higgins. Baltimore Ravens, I give them a D+. They didn't do absolutely anything. They only brought in a pretty good lineman in Kevin Zeitler. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in Baltimore. Baltimore was supposed to bring a guy like Kenny Golladay, maybe Juju. I know they offered Juju a lot of money, but it wasn't enough for the Ravens to only bring in one offensive lineman. They're currently talking to Sammy Watkins. I was going to put him in the video. Then I know this was just a visit, so we're still waiting on that news. The Bengals made some pretty good moves. That's why I give them a B+. They brought in Riley Weave, an offensive lineman, Mike Hilton. They also brought Chidobe Awuzie and Trey Hendrickson, one of the best defensive line in the free agency market, making some great moves there. I'm a fan of those moves the Bengals made, not to compete, but to for sure have some kind of stability in that franchise. The Kansas City Chiefs get a B+ at first. I completely forgot they had Joe Thuney and Kyle Long signed, so I was gonna put them as a D, as an F tier, as an F team. Yeah, I was gonna put them as F, but then I was like, no, wait. They brought in two really good players. They released Mitchell Schwartz and I think it was Mitchell Schwartz and their first overall pick, Fisher. So Joe Thuney and Kyle Long coming out of retirement, two very, very good players that come in to help the Kansas City Chiefs. Our next is the Oakland Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders added only Yannick Ngakoue. That's why I give them a D+. They're mostly known for the loss, which were in Trent Brown. They also lost Ronnie Hudson. So it's very interesting to see this Oakland, Las Vegas didn't really. They only added Unique and Gok. They also lost Nelson Aguilar. I forgot Nelson Aguilar signed with the Patriots. That was the mess up there. Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, I'm giving them a B plus, making some very good moves to their defense. They get Kyle Fuller, and that's the most recent free agents they signed. They bring back Justin Simmons on a 4-year deal. They accept the team option on Von Miller and Ronald Darby. They send me a 3-year deal, and they bring back Shelby Harris. The question: do the Denver Broncos draft a corner still, or they go another route like a linebacker, maybe even quarterback? That's something even I have to research myself. I think they'll go with a corner or a linebacker, possibly even a quarterback. Those are the 3 biggest positions of need, I think, as of right now. The next team is the Los Angeles Chargers. I gave them a B plus. They make some pretty good, really good moves, actually. They brought in Mike Feeler, Corey Linsley, and they bring in Jared Cook. So now Justin Herbert has some offensive line stability there. With those 2 guys coming in, they get Corey Linsley and Matt Feeler. Indianapolis Colts, as of right now, it's a C minus. They brought in Xavier Rhodes, Marlon Mack, and Isaiah Rochelle. Very good moves. I like the move of bringing back Xavier Rhodes, a top-tier corner. Not a top-tier cornerback anymore, but he's in the mid-tier. Marlon Mack, another running back to have the 2-headed monster of Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor. And then you bring in Isaiah Rochelle, who is going to be a good defensive player to put up pressure. Still yet to sign T1, everybody, so we're still waiting on that one. Next team is the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans get a C plus. They bring in Janoris Jenkins, Bud Dupree, Josh Reynolds, and Jayon Brown. I think I underrated them a little bit with their free agency. They should have been at least a B team, but they're still yet to bring in another receiver. They're none of those teams that got affected by losing players. They lost pretty much Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, 2 huge offensive weapons that Ryan Tannehill had. No longer has them, so they should be able to bring in maybe another tight end in that mix. The Houston Texans, I'm giving them a B. I give them an F. I'm giving them a B plus. The moves they made were incredible. Bringing in star running back Philip Lindsay, Jordan Jenkins again from the Jets, made a trade for Ryan Finley, which I'm a huge fan of Ryan Finley. I like this trade. Desmond King, a former cornerback for the Chargers and the Titans. Terrence Mitchell, Tyrod Taylor, familiar name there. Kevin Pierre-Louis, Terrence Brooks, Malik Collins, Andre Roberts, Kamal Grugier-Hill, former Miami Dolphin, Marcus Cannon, they made the trade for him, and Christian Kirksey. So I'm a huge fan of a lot of these moves the Texans made, upgrading that defense, getting some help on offense by bringing in Tyrod Taylor just in case. They do trade away Deshaun Watson. Yeah, exactly him. But there are a lot more things for Deshaun to worry about right now. And then the next team in that division is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get an A free agency, man. They had probably one of the best free agencies out there. They get Cam Robinson, Marvin Jones, Malcolm Brown, Shaquille Griffin, Chris Manhertz, Sidney Jones, Carlos Hyde, Rashad Jenkins, Philip Dorsett, Dawun Smoot, Jamal Agnew, and Roy Robertson Harris. One of the best free agencies out there. They just get some help on on both sides of the ball, defense and offense, getting some stability on the offensive line. By getting Cam Johnson back, you get some help at the safety and cornerback position with the signings of Shaquille Griffin and Sidney Jones. And you get help with the run game with Carlos Hyde, so you can teach James Robinson some help there. And then probably one of the worst teams in the free agency period, having the Green Bay Packers. I give them a D. They deserve an F. The only reason I give them a D was because they were able to bring Jones. Besides that, they have not acquired a receiver like Will Fuller, which the Miami Dolphins snagged from them pretty much. They haven't acquired any offensive lineman help. They actually released Corey Linsley, or they let him go. They haven't acquired any defensive studs, which Matt Judon would have been a perfect fit for that team. Christian Kirksey could have been nice too. And they haven't helped out Aaron Rodgers at all, which leads me to say possibly Aaron Rodgers gets traded, not this season, maybe at the trade deadline or at the next offseason. Minnesota Vikings, I give them a D+. They didn't do much. They only brought in Patrick Peterson, Dalvin Tomlinson. This team looks like it's going to rebuild, but it's still saying that they want to keep Kirk Cousins. If I'm you, I'm trading Kirk Cousins, and I'm trying to get a guy like Sam Darnold on the Vikings. I mean, maybe the Jets don't go after him. Maybe the Vikings are, hey man, we want to rebuild. You guys have a pretty good team, right now the Jets have a pretty good team. You have a pretty good team. We'll give you Kirk Cousins. You take him, and you give us back Sam Darnold, so we can maybe get a rebuild going. That is the only way I would see them trading away Darnold as well for Deshaun Watson, but he has other things to worry about right now. But besides that, yeah, I mean, The Minnesota Vikings, they're a pretty decent team. I think if you get a guy like Sam Darnold on that team, and they could be really good. But we're talking free agency. They still haven't hit the draft yet. So once they hit the draft, maybe they draft a quarterback there. I'm not sure, but as of right now, D plus for the Vikings. And the Chicago Bears, I'm giving them a C minus. They're able to franchise tag Allen Robinson. They bring in Andy Dalton and Desmond Trufant. Now they deserve to be probably a D plus free agency, but they were able to keep they're able to keep Allen Robinson and get a decent quarterback in Andy Dalton. I don't know, he's a little bit washed, and then you get a good corner in Desmond Trufant. The only reason I said I would probably put him in the D is because they were hyping this Russell Wilson trade out. They were trying to get him. Seattle never budged, and that's that. And that's that, man. They weren't able to acquire a guy in Detroit Lions, a pretty surprising free agency. B plus. They were able to get Brashad Perriman, Michael Brockers in a trade, Jared Goff in a trade, Jamal Williams, the running back from the Green Bay Packers, and Romeo Okwara. I'm actually a fan of what Detroit did here. I don't think they did it to compete this season, but for sure have a little bit of a better record than the past years. They do have DeAndre Swift. You lost your top receivers in Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. You now have TJ Hawkinson, so it's not horrible, but it's pretty good. Washington football team, man, I'm giving them an A. They bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick. This one hurts to say, man. I loved Ryan Fitzpatrick. Curtis Samuel, receiver, which I loved for the Dolphins. William Jackson, the cornerback, formerly from the Bengals, and they franchise tag Brandon Scherff. Washington football team is probably the favorite to win that division, honestly. It's between the football team and the Giants. Both of these teams are extremely good right now. And we're going to the Giants next, which I think I give that whole division pretty much an overall A, B, and C. I did not give any team a D. They're all pluses, no minuses. Well, actually, one minus, the Dallas Cowboys, but we'll get to that later. I mean, perfectly perfect. I mean, there's no other way to say it. They made moves. Washington football team gets a quarterback. Probably teach Taylor Heineke. You saw what Fitzpatrick did with Tua. Now you're gonna see what he's gonna do with Heineke. I don't see him. I see Fitzpatrick as a clear-cut starter. There's no way Heineke takes that unless Fitzpatrick is injured or he's just not playing good. On the other hand, Curtis Samuel brings in a good target. You know, he knows Terry McLaurin, one of the better receivers in the league, underrated too. So I'm a big fan of what the Washington football team did this free agency. New York Giants, we got to give them the A, man. They came in splashing in the free agency, and they also signed Adoree Jackson. I did not put that there. I made this last night. They hadn't signed Adoree Jackson yet. They signed him this morning, so great addition there. But Kenny Golladay, they add him. Leonard Williams, are re-signed for 3 years. Get a tight end in Kyle Rudolph to pair up with Evan Engram. Then you Mike Glenn, the backup quarterback. They had their backup retired. John Ross, the speedster, and Devontae Booker. I'm a huge fan of what the New York Giants did this free agency. They're probably one of the top teams in this NFC East. It's between Washington and the New York Giants. Dallas Cowboys, I'm just gonna give them a B minus just for generosity. It should be a C plus team or C minus or just a C, but they should be in that C tier. But they were able to bring back Dak Prescott. That's why I didn't, because it was pretty obvious. That was probably one of the only moves they made in this free agency, bringing back Prescott. I like that. I mean, it had to happen at some point. So, yeah, Philadelphia Eagles. The only player they added was Anthony Harris, but he was the top safety in the free agency market. So, yeah, plus for the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't expect much from them. They released a lot of players. They brought back Fletcher Cox. They released Alshon Jeffries, Deshaun Jackson. So that just explains some of the moves they were making there. So the next team is the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks made a couple pretty good moves. They added Chris Carson, Gabe Jackson, Gerald Everett, and Ahkello Witherspoon. Honestly, at the start, I didn't think the Seattle Seahawks would be this good. I mean, they made that many moves, so that's why I was going to put them in the D tier. But then later on, I started realizing they made some pretty good moves, so I put them in the C tier, C plus. I give them a C plus. Great. Next team is the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, I give them an A plus. They made probably some of the best moves in this free agency, adding J.J. Watt to that front seven, Rodney Hudson making a trade with the Raiders, and you add A.J. Green, another target for Kyler Murray, and you get Marcus Golden back. Probably one of the best, probably top 5 offseason, top 3 in there. One of the best offseasons, honestly. Next team, Los Angeles Rams. I give them a B minus. They added Matthew Stafford in the trade for Jared Goff. Leonard Floyd, they bring him back on a 4-year deal, and Deshaun Jackson. receiver spot. You lost out on you lost Josh Reynolds, so you replaced him with Deshaun. You couldn't get Kenny Galladay. You didn't get any of the top tier receivers. There's still a couple good ones left, like Sammy Watkins would be pretty nice. I think they've had him on that team before. And you bring in a guy like Matthew Stafford, who absolutely put your team on the top, make one of the top 2 teams in that division. So yeah, San Francisco 49ers, B-. You bring back Jason Verrett, Trent Sherfield, Alex Mack, and Trent Williams, making the highest paid offensive linemen. I am a huge fan of this move by the 49ers making these moves. You bring in Alex Mack, your former Atlanta Falcon, Kyle Shanahan on that former offensive coordinator for the Falcons, now the coach of the 49ers. I'm a Carolina Panthers, C+. You added David Moore, Hassan Reddick, Denzel Perryman, Pat Elflein, and Taylor Morton. I would probably put this in the after like reading off the names, but honestly, I'm just going to keep it at a C+. They didn't add any big time guys. You couldn't bring back Curtis Samuel. You didn't go after any big time guys. You still have, if they traded for Deshaun Watson, this would be probably an A- or A+ free agency for them. Atlanta Falcons, the worst free agency. They did sign a running back today, David Smith, but I give him an F. Lee Smith, I'm sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. Youngho Koo. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong or the name wrong. Yeah, they have a horrible free agency. The only good move they made was bring back the kicker, which was probably one of the best in the NFC last season. Huge fan of that move. Besides that, didn't do anything else. So, F. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, A+. You re-signed Tom Brady for 2 more years, giving him the contract extension, bringing back Shaq Barrett, and re-signing Ryan Suk. Pretty good moves there. Tom Brady, of course, one of the great players. Chris Godwin, they brought him back on the franchise tag. I forgot to include that. Shaq Barrett going to help the defense. He's one of the core players there. And then you get back a kicker. Final team, the New Orleans Saints. Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, Marcus Williams, D+, released a ton of players, which include Emmanuel Sanders, Janoris Jenkins, Quan Alexander, just a couple to name there. You lost Sheldon Rankings. You lost Hendricks, your pass rusher to the Bengals. Horrible free agency for them. The only good moves they did was bring back Jameis Winston, tag Marcus Williams, and restructure the contract of Taysom Hill. Let me know in the comments what you think about these free agency moves, everybody. My name is Kevin Barral from the KO Podcast. See you guys all in the next one. Peace out.